Wafer paper is a really unique style of material that we have available to us to create some really cool items in the sugar world. I'm Rachael Teufel, and in this lesson I want to share with you the equipment and tools that you need in order to get started with wafer paper. So obviously the first thing you need is wafer paper, and wafer paper comes in a variety of styles. So you can get just a very traditional white wafer paper. It actually comes in a couple of different thicknesses, but I have found through my experience the thicknesses don't make a significant difference in the project that you're working on. They're micrometers of like teeny tiny measurements that just for our purposes don't seem to make a significant difference in our projects. So they do actually come in a variety of colors and patterns though. So something to think about when you are working with wafer paper is if it's something that you want to have already colored or with a pattern on it, or if you just want to start with white, that's completely fine too. I think it really just depends on the project that you're going to tackle and what purpose it's going to actually serve in your overall design. I have a tendency just to start with white wafer paper because we have petal dust which are readily available and are easily used in order to color our wafer paper. So if you just start with a white canvas, you can truly create just about any color palette you would like on your wafer paper. Some of the other items that are necessities are piping gel or a conditioner, and both of these are serving more as a glue. However, wafer paper is very dry in general. It depends a little bit on the humidity level of the environment you're in, but these types of items help just piece all of your wafer paper together, and the conditioner is really something that helps create a more flexible wafer paper. I actually would recommend checking out the lesson all about creating your own conditioner and piping gels just so that you can not have to rely on a product. You can actually just make it on your own if that is something you'd like to do. So piping gel, glycerin, water, and sometimes even alcohol are sort of the liquid ingredients that you would want to have available to you. In addition, if you plan to do a lot of wafer paper, my recommendation is to invest in a handful of paper punches. I would say round is the most common shape that I utilize within my wafer paper projects, but there are a multitude of shapes and sizes that you can utilize. These really are more of a convenience than a true necessity, but again, if you're making multiple flowers or making something like these little pom-poms, the process of just hand cutting hundreds of circles, really the cutters are going to hasten that process for you and just make your work look that much more clean. So definitely invest in a couple of these. Again, not a necessity, but I would recommend it. And then just a good pair of scissors. I also recommend some tinier scissors if you're going to be working with itty bitty flowers. For instance, if you were going to use these little tiny hydrangea blossoms, these large cutters to try to get in and cut off certain petals and things, they're just going to be way too large. So grab a small pair of scissors as well. And then just having a traditional paper cutter is really handy. Again, not a necessity. You can always use your scissors, but these are just going to make perfectly straight lines for you. So if you're adding them to a cake and you want perfectly parallel and everything measured properly, I really do recommend having some sort of paper cutter available to you. I also have a cutting mat and an X-Acto knife. And the main reason for that is you can hand cut your wafer paper into any shape or size you would like. So it's just really nice to have a dedicated surface for your wafer paper cutting. It just makes your process a little more streamlined and clean. And then a handful of brushes, and you're actually going to want a few different sizes. Some of these will actually be used to place water or some of our glues onto our wafer paper to adhere them together. Some of them are used more for dusting color onto them. So just a variety of brushes. You probably already have an arsenal of brushes if you are used to doing gum-cased sugar flowers. The equipment that we're using for wafer paper versus gum paste overlaps quite a bit. So hopefully you don't have to invest a whole lot of money in order to get started with wafer paper. And honestly, just grabbing some wafer paper and having a good set of scissors or an X-Acto knife will get you started pretty quickly. So check out some of the other videos all about how to create different objects, whether it be palms or flowers or wrapping your entire cake in wafer paper, and you will have everything that you need to get started.